Welcome to the Misano World Circuit for round 3 of the GT4 European Series. Conditions look absolutely fantastic here on the Adriatic coast at Misano World Circuit. As you can see, the hills behind bathed in sunlight, a light breeze blowing the leaves. Very, very comfortable weather here indeed. 24 hours ago, it was not the case. Absolutely tropical storms came down, a considerable amount of rain, sort of the equivalent of a month's rain, I think, came down yesterday afternoon and evening. The track blown clear of all the rubber, but it's been laid down. You can see the rubber going through the final corner, the turn 16, those rumble strips on the outside, and a lot of drivers this weekend may find themselves transgressing at that final corner when it comes to the race. This is the first of 2 races for the GT4 European Series. We had the first two rounds at Zolder and then Brands Hatch, and the honours have been shared at both of those rounds. We've had a victory for the Phoenix Racing Audi of Milan Doncia and Nikolai Moller-Madsen, joined with one by the HHC Ginetta of Stuart Middleton and Will Tregurtha. So they are the class acts, but neither of those cars is on pole position for the first of this weekend's 2 GT4 races here at Misano. That instead has gone to the Equipe Verschoor McLaren, with Finlay Hutchison doing the job. He's sharing that with Ricardo van der Ende. So looking to see what Hutchinson can do away from pole position. But the Phoenix Audi number 5, Milan Doncia, will join them on the outside of the front row. So a championship pace setter still delivering the goods in his Audi. Track temperature creeping up this afternoon. It was about 29 degrees last time I checked, and I think it would have risen further despite that breeze. As this packed grid of cars will have 22 rows of cars, 44 cars in all, coming out to play in this 1-hour race. So it's McLaren at the front from Audi, two Audis from Phoenix, actually they're second and third, and then the Autolando Sport Porsche going very well on home ground for Giuseppe Gezzi and Alessandro Giovinelli. The GT4 European Series continues to grow and grow, and take a look at the cars. The Chevrolet Camaros from V8 Racing, always very popular indeed. A couple of those entered Porsche Caymans for so long, the backbone of the championship, along with the KTM Crossbows, but plenty of new shapes of cars. The BMW M4 coming in to join at the sharp end, but it's the Schrader Motorsport pairing that are top of the table, but by a huge margin. Mark Basseng and Philip Bethke just being super consistent. But Patrick Zamparini and Saba Moore 32 points behind them in second place, and third place another 13 points further back for Jörg Wiebahn, who's been racing at GT4 level for a long time, and Jean-Louis Jasper. And so none of the drivers who are featuring at the very sharp end of the grid are at the top of the championship. So it does mean we ought to have a lovely shuffle after the first of the 2 races here at Misano. But for Basseng and Bethke, it's been super consistency that has got them right to the top of the charts, just scoring on every single opportunity. And in the Am Cup, Eric Mouet and David Logier going very well indeed in their Ginetta. But again, much closer in the Am Cup class, so don't expect such enormous changes as they jumble up around Misano. The circuit, though, encourages overtaking. Oh yes, it does. Various points around the 16 turns, 4.2 kilometers in length, and you can hunt a driver for a long time before you can find a place to go past. So Schrader Motorsport leading the Pro-Am honours, the Am honours, as we've just seen. This is a view looking out of turn 10 as the cars snake down a kinked back straight that runs down to 13. The Silver Club there we have Milan Doncia, Nikolai Moller-Madsen leading the overall championship, but only by 3 points from Tregurtha and Middleton. Don't forget, both those pairs done 4 races and they've got 2 wins apiece. Simon Knapp and Max Cobalt tucked in behind. And Stefan Tribadini, one of the most promising young drivers, Pierre-Alexandre Jean, very young indeed, 16 years old. He's down on 42 points, so very much in the mix as he puts down a marker at this level of racing. Pereiras and Pavarud, their fantastic looking Mercedes, tucked down behind them in 5th place overall. So the team's going out onto the grid. The first car coming past my commentary position, it's the pole starting number 10 McLaren. Just tucked in behind the 55 HHC Motorsport Ginetta as the other cars go on around the lap. And there is the rear shot out of turn 16, the final corner called Misano. Buildings in the background. This circuit used to be run in the opposite direction in the days in the early 80s when Formula 2 came to play here. But some great opportunities. If you get up on top of the grandstand, the main building on the left side above the pits, you can see a lot of the 16 turns. a good place to come and watch your racing. And again, towards the end of the lap, down at turn 12, 13, 14, 15, big grandstands on the outside to catch the field as it goes down into one of the best overtaking positions. 10 to 13 stroke 14, it's a kink straight, and then you have to brake very heavily, which, as we know, is the best way to get your overtaking. So there is the Keep Verschoor McLaren on pole position, the number 10 car, Finley Hutchinson sharing with Ricardo van der Ende. These races, to reiterate, we have the driver change, we have 1 hour of racing. And of course, for tomorrow's race, the start driver is flipped, and the one who's going second today will go first tomorrow. McLaren 570S seems to be going better and better in many hands. Again, it's a car that really does seem to suit privateer drivers. It's nothing too vicious for them. It seems to be something that has very, very good poise and doesn't seem to scare them too much, which is obviously a very good thing. You want the performance to be kind in its delivery in so many ways. Here's the cars on the third row, the Racing One Audi on the left-hand side, Racing One Audi, and the other side the Schwede Motorsport car of Rudolf Schulte and Dominik Schrammel, one of the many Porsche Caymans. Number 4 Audi looks absolutely fantastic. That's another one for Phoenix Racing, Helmut Rödig and Christopher Zirkling. Number 4 car down the order a little bit. It's actually on the second row. Helmut should be starting that on the second row. Very distinctive livery there. As you can see, weather conditions absolutely fabulous. The cars with 44 in all spread around that final corner. They should be able to bring them up a little bit. You can see the grid markings very close together, but the last corner isn't that far from the start-finish line. So definitely an advantage to be in the top few rows of the grid. You'll be able to see the starting lights rather more easily. But let's go down to the grid, and we will hear from Milan Donci. He's down on the grid alongside the number 5 Phoenix Racing Audi with Dakota.
Milan, now you're starting P2, front row of the grid, a spectacular place to be. It's going to be a really tough race. It's super hot.
Yeah, it's really hot right now, and in the car will be even hotter. I think like 50 degrees. But the McLarens are on pole and they are really quick. Hopefully we manage that we can win, but it will be really difficult because the competition is hard and we got a small BOP change. So yeah, we'll see.
Do you think you can handle the heat?
Yeah, hopefully. Otherwise we turn on the AC.
And tomorrow you're starting on pole anyway?
Yeah, that will be better.
Brilliant. Let's see how it goes. Thanks.
So the Phoenix Racing Audi crew is going very well indeed, and Milan Donci and his teammate Nikolai Moller-Madsen started the season in supreme form, and they won the opening race at Zolder from pole position. They won the opening race at Brands Hatch, but a couple of 5th places in the second race at Zolder, the second race at Brands Hatch has kept them in reach of that HHC Motorsport Ginetta crew. But I think quite a few others fancy putting down their marker, most notably the car starting on pole position, the Keep Verschoor number 10 McLaren. Finley Hutchinson will start and hand over to Ricardo van der Ende. How's that for an experienced driver with so much success at GT4 level to hand over to? So just to reiterate, almost all the 44 cars have got 2 drivers. A couple of them are going to be driven solo. In fact, 3 now. Lisette Brahms will be driving her Keep Verschoor McLaren solo. Louis-Philippe Sonen, his Celleslar Racing Mercedes, and the other car is Nicky Leutwiler, the TFT Racing Porsche, will also be doing both stints in both of the races. As you can hear, the fans down on the grid trying to keep the cars cool as they are at a standstill. We have just under 5 minutes to the start of the formation lap. There is that Keep Verschoor McLaren, white with the blue stripes on its flanks. And let's go down to the grid again, because the driver on pole position is Finley Hutchinson. He's been caught up with by Dakota down on the grid.
Finland, now you're starting on pole. What a spectacular race this is going to be. Are you excited?
Yeah, this year's we've always been quick and we've just not got the results yet, but Ricardo done a great job in qualifying. Obviously as we're on the front row, car felt really good in qualifying to me and for Ricardo, so it's quite good that we're both feeling the same thing and we're managing to get sort of up there in the grid now.
What's your strategy to win this race?
It all changes. Can't be giving that away yet.
No, don't look too sure. Good luck.
We thought Dakota had a scoop down there, but Finley Hutchinson keeping it buttoned. But just to reiterate, Finley's been going faster and faster, but Ricardo, his teammate, who's starting in the second part of the race, European GT4 champion in 2011, 2013, 2014, and the Northern Cup champion last year. About as many titles as anybody, if not more, has got at this level. So, and with Finley getting faster and faster, that is a very, very strong pairing indeed. So the Scottish driver on pole position, but of course the car alongside, Milan Doncha, we just heard from him, his Phoenix Racing Audi also wants to take a tilt when they get to the first corner. They don't have to go far to get to the first corner. Turn 1, the right-hander feeds almost immediately into turn 2, and it's not a long sprint down there. So a little caution will be required, and don't forget, a little caution has to be spread among 44 drivers. So you could well find yourself being involved in someone else's moment, and the art of keeping yourself clear of trouble is as important as the very tightest line around an apex. As you can see, as we ride on the Segway down the grid, we keep on going. You pass my commentary positions on the right-hand side up in those cabins. The final few cars as we go past the V8 Racing Chevrolet Camaros that look fantastic in that metallic blue livery. We still haven't got to the back of the grid because those are sitting actually down on row 8. And we go down to row 22, which means it's round turn 16. So people being cleared from the grid, we get to see the cars in all of their glory. And I must say, the standard of presentation just goes up almost by the round. These cars look absolutely brilliant. And last night, when the rain was chucking down, even in the dark conditions, some of them look brilliant. Most notably, the Jean-Louis Jasper Jörg Vibahn Phoenix Racing Audi, which is in that day glow yellow, really looks fantastic. And there is the man. Most people can't operate a camera properly, but Mike Hawkins can do it when operating and riding on a Segway. So truly skilled. It does give a lot of dynamism to the flyby down the grid. So the challenge for those at the very tail of the grid is just to get their 3-wide technology BMWs up to the final corner, round it, and then they get onto the start straight. But they will have a grandstand view of all that happens ahead of them and hopefully be able to pick off a place or two. So Gwenal Delomier and Lewis Floss bringing up the rear as we set off on the formation lap I mentioned. That pause, the drivers, we had them interviewed, the front 2 drivers, and those on the front row suited, put their helmets on, got on board. In fact, most of the drivers delaying until the latest moment possible to get into their cars. They know it's going to be warm. Here is the starting grid. Number 10, McLaren on pole position. Finley Hutchinson, Milan Donchi in the Phoenix Racing Audi will start alongside. Then Helmut Rudig and Giuseppe Getzi in the Porsche from Orlando Sport on row 2. Row 3, Lungstrasse and Ovega. So Ovega will be challenging Schulte. Then Tregertha and Middleton, they've won 2 races, but they're down on row number 4. Great start. Stephen Patrick up onto the 4th row in his Bullet Racing entry, and that's higher than we normally see them. So I think we've had quite a jumble here with all the rain that came down yesterday. It rather affected the qualifying order, and certainly the track time they had was curtailed by heavy, heavy rain. So it was really down in qualifying to being able to put your lap in and put it in very early on. No time for procrastination. So 44 cars set for an hour of racing. The first of the 2 races here at the Misano World Circuit for the GT4 European Series. And still we go down through the grid. Still some quick drivers way down the grid. 21st, 22nd position. 3-wide technology have brought 3 of their BMWs there trying to make their way up the order, but such is the level of competition. But it's very, very tricky indeed. What used to be much easier to be close to the front end in the GT4 European Series, but with every race it seems to become more competitive. So if a team is delivering consistently, they really, really are on top of their game. Just had a quick sight of the Walero Aston Martin, Fiona James, Matt Nicol-Jones, looking for some strong results. They've had a fair bit of bad luck this year so far. And there is the car that stands out, whether day or night, that number 6, Jean-Louis Jasper Jörg Vibahn Audi, looking absolutely stunning in the bright sunshine. Looking at the far end of the fast run of straights, turns 13 and 14. That's 14 just in front of us, and the field continues to snake away around towards the end of the formation lap, and then we'll go racing for an hour, which I'm sure will be chock full of excitement. So just to reiterate, on that front row, it's a McLaren from an Audi, second row an Audi from a Porsche, and then another Audi on row 3, and a Porsche Cayman as well. Schrader Motorsport, number 15. Rudolf Schulter and Dominic Schrammel. So real mix of cars up at the front end, but look out which car is going to get the run down to turn 1 best. Is it going to be the number 10 McLaren? Is it going to be the number 5 Audi with Milan Doncic on board? But don't forget, turns 1, 2 and 3 are pretty much interconnected, so you could get it slightly wrong at turn 1 and really start to suffer. So out of turn 15 they start to put the power down. Finlay Hutchinson goes around the final corner. Look up towards the lights on the gantry, waiting for the red lights to be extinguished. Fabulous conditions here at the Misano World Circuit. Not racing yet, but we are racing now. Rear shot as the field blasts down towards the first corner. Hard to tell if the Audi's got its nose in front, possibly, but no, the McLaren is on the correct line into the opening corner. Looks tidy, one of the crossbows going a little bit wide and gaining a position or two up inside the Schrader Motorsport Porsche Cayman. So a couple of losers up at the front end, but it's about keeping it clean. The HHC Motorsport Ginetta just in the jam in the sandwich there. White and blue car trying to gain positions around turns 3, 4 and 5 without getting contact. Easier said than done. We can see one of the, I think that's the Orlando Porsche being pushed wide. Yes, it is indeed. That's Giuseppe Jezzi. He was pushed towards the outside, losing a bit of ground, possibly over-qualified in terms of natural speed. So really delivering qualifying, but may drop down the order. Quick for sure, McLaren and Milan Doncic first and second, doing as they expected to do. So a very good job from both. And then in behind, Helmut Rodig third in the second of the Phoenix Racing Audis. Boy, at this stage, Finlay Hutchinson really, well, he didn't want to tell us his tactic for the start of the race, but clearly making an escape at the front of the field was on his order, and he's gone through turn 10 onto the back straight. Position still changing as the rest of the field flows its way through turn 10 with overtaking not an option. It's something you want to go for. That's the number 6 Audi looking forward from that car. Now we can look back at it. So very good little run there by Jean-Louis Jasper. So he's gained a position coming out of turn 10 and carried that extra momentum all the way down to the hairpin at turn 14. Now the number 4 Audi pushing very hard indeed. Helmut Rodig challenging his teammate for second place, but for now Milan Doncic being very wise. In fact, it's the number 2 drivers. They've flipped the drivers over. My mistake. So in fact, sorry, I beg your pardon. It is indeed Finlay Hutchinson who goes second, and it's his teammate Ricardo van der Ende who's pulling away. And likewise, it's Nikolai Moller-Madsen, and tucked in behind Christopher Zirkling. They're the first 3. That number 6 Audi really pushing around Jörg Wiebahn, having a great deal of fun, trying to find a way on one side, then again on the other. But actually in that attempted overtaking manoeuvre, lost a little bit of ground. It's now between 2 of the BMWs from RN Vision STS, and just trying to keep it balanced. Tails kicking out on the second of the BMWs there. Gabriele Piana in 8th position overall. Leading car in the AM class is the Orlando Sports Porsche, still running well at the top end of the field. That's in 6th place overall in the hands of Giovanelli. Out front though, Ricardo van der Ende leading by just a whisker over second at the end of the opening lap, but it seems that Nikolai Moller-Madsen is now starting to fight back in second place. He's trying to drop Christopher Zirkling off his tail. Christopher in the second of those 2 Phoenix Racing Audis. 112 pushing on as well, right in the mix of the tail of that bright yellow Audi. Car 112 driven by Pavel Lefterov, Bulgarian racer. So hard to know where to look at the moment. Every possible point on the circuit where these cars are, there are bunches of them, 2, 3, 4 in a row trying to overtake, and here comes a lined up overtaking manoeuvre. Looks like it's going to be pulled off, and 33 Andy Merrick, the Bullet Racing Mercedes, they raced a McLaren last year, going again very well indeed. That front damage, just looking at the front wing of that BMW, it might have been shade on the car, so the little bit of wing damage. We'll take a look from the other side, but unfortunately for the 15 crew, going slightly backwards there. It's Dominic Schrammel who's lost a little bit of ground as Andy Merrick makes the positional change. Here is a replay of the start of the race, and it's Ricardo van der Ende leading into the first corner from Nikolai Moller-Madsen. So McLaren ahead of Audi, and the second car in the field, second Audi in the field, tucking into 3rd place. looking on board from the number 6 Audi, Jean-Louis Jasper. Very busy, but really, really well behaved from everyone. That's turn 1, and as you can see, almost immediately into turn 2, I think the Bullet Racing Mercedes might have had a little tap on the back of the Schrader Motorsport Porsche Cayman. But really very, very sensible indeed. They managed to get round through, this is turn 4, without contact, which is not always a given. So Ricardo van der Ende is now leading after 2 laps by 1.099 of a second. Christopher Zirkling just a second back now, having been shaken off by Nikolai Moller-Madsen, and the field going down toward turns 13 and 14, those quick kinks down to 14, which is a hairpin, where they're really heavily onto the brakes. That's just there's turn 14, and they have to snap back across the other side of the track, over to the right here, right curves a little bit, sometimes cloud the curves on the inside. As you can see, they're big, stuck down sausages, rumble strips if you would call them that, and then you've got some more of those coming on the exit of turn 16. There's some on the inside of the corner, you can see just to the right there, bang, you can hear the cars going over the top of them. So this is Jean-Louis Jasper chasing very hard. He's now behind Pavel Lefterov, so the BMW 112 has just moved ahead of it. That's 112 right in front of us now. And an incident between the 112 Pavel Lefterov BMW and the driver of car number 6, which is the Porsche that started on the second row, Alessandro Giovanelli, under investigation. So having made the move, Lefterov may have to take a little bit of punishment, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Give the benefit of the doubt at the moment. So for the Bulgarian driver, he's just got to press on. And an incident between car number 9, which is one of the V8 Racing, Duncan Hausmann's V8 Racing Camaro, is being investigated for having pushed Cedric Freiberghause's Phoenix Racing Audi. So a little bit of juggling and jostling, but we'll see what happens. But out front, it's Ricardo van der Ende leading away now by 1.056 seconds from Nikolai Moller-Madsen, first and second. McLaren ahead of Audi. Audi in third place. And now another place gained by Andy Merrick. He's gone ahead of Dominic Schulter, which we saw. So going well in fourth place. What's his lap speed like? Yeah, he's faster than Christopher Zirkling. So the car in third place could be under pressure very soon indeed. Oh, a big tail out moment there for number 9, Duncan Hausmann. He's the driver who's under investigation for possibly pushing car number 3, which is the white and blue Phoenix Racing Pro-Am entry with Cedric Freiberghaus at the wheel. A couple of places further back, 12th position overall is Stuart Middleton. Don't forget, he's had a really good run this year with 2 wins, but right here at Misano, he didn't qualify well, and he's paying the price for that. Stuck down in traffic, he's just in behind the Aston Martin and the Auto Orlando Porsche, which continues to go back down the order. Car number 76 started from 4th on the grids in the hand of Alessandro Giovanelli, lost out through the first few corners and continues to be hunted down. You really feel that HHC Motorsport Ginetta will find its way past, and fairly soon. Fastest lap of the race last time around by the driver in second place, Nikolai Moller-Madsen. So going very well at the front of the field, but Ricardo van der Ende, 0.849 of a second clear. It's not much, but he'll take it. Going up to turn 10 now. This is the field coming back past the paddock. Well, alongside the start-finish straight, but going in the opposite direction, diving there into turn 8, also known as Quercia. Plenty of runoff, but plenty of space to be embarrassed when your car might have just gone too deep into the corner. So Stuart Middleton now trying to get past the Auto Orlando Sport Porsche. Continues to be overtaking. Certainly the the RN Vision STS BMWs are picking their way with every lap further forward. And that's another place. Dominic Schulter has been pushed back down to 6th. Gabriele Piana has advanced, but another BMW car 39, not going quite so sweetly, as you can see, with a spin there for Sylvain Debs. He's in the AM class. Up front, though, there is the race leader, Ricardo van der Ende, in second place, and chasing after him, Nikolai Moller-Madsen, getting closer now, 3/4 of a second down. That's how they stand at the moment in the Silver Cup class. And Gabriele Piana, who's third in the Silver Cup, we saw just move up into 5th place overall, and Stuart Middleton is running down in 4th in Silver Cup class, but still down in 12th position overall. So it shows how we've got some Pro-Am runners really going very well in the overall mix. In fact, the top driver in the Pro-Am class is 3rd overall, Christopher Zirkling in the number 4 Audi. But first to second, It was over a second, it went down to 3/4 of a second, and it's come down to less than that. I'd say maybe not even half a second, a third of a second, as Ricardo van der Ende in that Keep Visual McLaren is being pushed very, very hard indeed, because Nikolai Moller-Madsen 2 wins to his name already in the first race of the opening round at Zolder, the first race of the 2 at Brands Hatch, and fancies making it 3 first race wins in a row here at the 3rd round of the championship. Misano World Circuit, 16 corners around its 4.2 kilometer length. Certainly provide plenty of opportunity to get close, but the key is to where and when to make that passing manoeuvre. If anything, out of the hairpin there at turn 10, a better exit from the McLaren driver, and McLaren is that bit sleeker. Certainly down the straight, it has an advantage already. I've just had a pit caller come through, drive-through penalty for car 112. I can't tell you if that was for pushing another driver off the track. And I'm afraid for him, I think that was the car that just came through the pits beneath me. Yes, that would make sense. So there it is, drive-through penalty. So he was going to stop rather than drive through. So it could be a misunderstanding. To my understanding, a drive-through means you drive through, but he appeared to be pulling in front of his pit. Maybe thinks it's a stop and go. Whoa, massive moment in the background. That's the driver in 4th place. Andy Merrick, very, very entertaining through the final corner of the lap. He's getting under increasing pressure from Gabriele Piano in the 111. BMW as it closes in, the RN Vision STS entry, but first a second has closed right up again. Here is the challenge for the lead, and taking the lead with a fair degree of aplomb, but then immediately again to lose it back again to the McLaren, but the McLaren's on the outside line, so job done by Nikolai Moller-Madsen. What a fantastic move there at the front part of the lap. Through that snaking first sequence of corners, brake very late. Got in position now down to turn 8. The job has been completed. So Moller-Madsen now leading away. Let's take a little look in the background. Oh, that's one way of taking the corner. The E-Sky Maserati, Roman Kresge being driven with considerable aplomb and just short of the barriers there, using all of the gravel possible to slow it to a sensible speed. But a bit of a setback for the Maserati there. Now coming round to lead for the first time, but under increasing pressure again, because Ricardo van der Ende may have been passed, but he doesn't fancy being beaten down through the fast kinks. They go turn 13, and then they'll have to brake hard for the next corner, turn 14, out over the curbs, but the racing line is covered there by Moller-Madsen. There is turn 14, the exit thereof, tighter exit from the McLaren driver. Ricardo van der Ende not close enough to make a move. In fact, you don't make a move at turn 16. That was 15. But what you do is you get as close as possible to see if you can get a run up. Very short start-finish straight. There is the start-finish straight, but again, out of the corners, van der Ende in the McLaren much, much tidier. In the background, you can see the car in 3rd place, Christopher Zirkling. Is he closing on them because he's not in a battle? Last time around, their laps were fairly similar. In fact, van der Ende's was the slowest of the top 3. So, is it race over at the front? Of course, no, it isn't, because we've got the driver changes to come. So we'll have to hope pit crews can play their part as well. Andy Merrick in that Bullet Racing Mercedes up into 4th place, but he's definitely being hounded now by Gabriele Piano, who's made his way forward and worked his way up the order into 5th place. There is the Aston Martin going very well in the hands of the moment. Car number 60, Matt Nicol-Jones, 8th place overall, gaining places on the V8 Racing. Camaro's trying to gain positions. That's Nicky Pastorelli right on the tail of Stuart Middleton, both getting very close indeed to Jörg Wiebahn in that bright yellow Phoenix Racing Audi. God, doesn't make a wonderful rumble, that Camaro. Nothing like a V8 engine to my ears, it must be said. Matt Nicol-Jones pulls out in the Academy Motorsport Aston Martin, not close enough to take a move, but close enough to have a look. The second of the V8 Racing cars in behind there. So Duncan Houseman in number 9, and the sister car, Nicky Pastorelli, there he is, number 18. So they're running respectively in 7th and 11th positions. In fact, fleetingly up into 10th is Nicky Pastorelli, and Stuart Middleton trying to fight back in the 55 Ginetta. They just swapped positions earlier in the lap. Almost pushing Jean-Louis Jasper, sorry, Jörg Wiebahn started that car. through the final corner, three-car train. There it is, the bright yellow Audi in behind the V8 Racing Chevrolet Camaro, and tucked in behind that, the HHC Motorsports Ginetta into turn 1, enough space to make a manoeuvre, straight into turn 2, rumbling over the curves on the inside, no gap left by the Camaro racer. He's going to run a little bit wider out of turn 3, Variante del Parco up to turn 4. Is there a space up the inside? Absolutely not. Oh gosh, is there any space at all between the 76 Giovanelli Porsche and Hamza Ovega in number 16, which is one of the Audis entered by Racing 1. Very tight indeed. I felt when I looked at the grid that the Autolando Sport Porsche starting from outside of row 2 would probably go backwards in the field. Sadly, that has proved to be the case, but still hanging on there. But now Giovanelli down to 12th place overall. Great racing just at the tail of the top 10 though. Jörg Wiebahn hanging on to 8th place, 20 seconds down on the race leader, but he's busy in the office, I think you can say, because being pushed very, very hard indeed by Nicky Pastorelli. The V8 racing cars have been making their way up the order, certainly through the course of this race. Having started on the 8th and 9th rows. In fact, Duncan Hausmann needs real applause outside of row 9, and he is now running around in 6th place overall. Last time he gained another position as he worked his way up the order. So really coming good, these big rumbling Camaros. Getting close is one thing here at the Misano World Circuit, but unsettling the driver in front is much harder than it is at many a circuit. Hamza Ovega very, very wide indeed. You'll have to watch for that. Race officials will be on the lookout for drivers exceeding track limits. You can see one of the 3 White Technologies BMWs are in the pits in the background, unfortunately, bonnet up. So that's an answer to my question about who else rumbled in past my commentary position into the pit lane. It's one of the 3 White Technology cars. It should be Beniamino Caccia who's sitting in the pit lane. He's last on the timesheets. Now, how is this battle going to shake out? Stuart Middleton can do nothing. The Ginetta at the moment just doesn't seem to have any particular advantage performance-wise in the circuit. He's now got Giovanelli getting closer and closer behind him. In fact, it's about a 6 or 7 car train all coming back behind this bright yellow Audi that's leading their grouping. Jörg Wiebahn in 8th place overall, but as you can see, super tight in behind. Of course, there are performance differences between these 2 cars now. Well, there was a choice from Wiebahn. I want to take the wide line out of the corner. You're not quite close enough to dive up the inside and challenge me, and I might have a quicker exit speed. Here's a replay. It says safety car on the graphic. I don't see any. Oh, safety car procedure, it says on the timing screen as well. So no overtaking, back you go. And the signal is because unfortunately we have a Mercedes stuck in the gravel. That is why the safety car is out on the track. So it hasn't picked up the leaders just yet. You can suddenly hear the engine notes starting to drop. So frustration, that's one of the Celislaw Racing Team Mercedes, yet to see which one that is. I think it's probably Louis-Philippe Sonnen. Yes, he's tumbled down the order. So that wonderful battle behind Jörg Wiebahn will have to wait its turn. We saw Stuart Middleton pulling alongside just at the start of the safety car period and then dropping back. So he observed the flags. That should be fine. There's the car that had the biggest, most lurid slide yet in this race. Andy Merrick, he has been passed in recent laps by Gabriele Piana, so he's fallen back to 5th place in the train. And those in front are going to have to watch out for this BMW. There it is, tucked in behind the number 4 Audi. And certainly in terms of picking its way up the order, that has been very, very promising indeed for Gabriele Piana. Started on the outside of the 6th row, is now up into 4th place. And with this safety car, he's got an opportunity to get ever closer before, when we go to the restarts, with the field being led around by Nikolai Moller-Madsen. Ricardo van der Ende second in the Akit Vachon McLaren, 3rd place and 2nd in the Phoenix Audis, Christopher Zöckling. But there is Piana lurking in behind. And there is another car that's moved up the order, the bright blue V8 Racing Chevrolet Camaro, both with Duncan Heisman and the sister car with Nicky Pastorelli, 6th and 9th. They've moved up a long way. So pit window delay expected. So that means that when they can first come in and make a pit stop, a driver change, in the case of those that have a 2-driver lineup, all but 3 of the cars do. They cannot come in just for now while the safety car procedure is being completed, waiting for that Mercedes to be pulled away. And in fact, it could well be Baz Schuten who's off in the gravel. The sister car, I thought it might have been Louis-Philippe Sonnen, but Salazar Racing Team, I think it's Baz Schuten who's sharing with Bob Herber, but is deep in the gravel, requiring rescue. So safety car period, almost one-third distance in this 1 hour race, just approaching the pit stop window, and that has been delayed for now. We'll wait for further signal. I must say, Ricardo van der Ende did a good tidy job to get away in the lead at the start from pole position, but after a handful of laps he started to be hunted down by Nikolai Moller-Madsen, and started to show the form that's helped him to 2 wins in the first 4 races of the championship. But Moller-Madsen very positive in his overtaking, and it must be said that Ricardo van der Ende has been around long enough to realise if you're going to be passed, and there is no doubt you're going to be overtaken, don't make it difficult. Let him pass, tuck him behind and see if you can fight back. And the Dane came through, so very tidy and a lot of respect between the drivers at the front end of the field, which is great to see, something you build up over the decades of racing together. And it's great to be able to trust your rival competitors. So yes, absolute proof it is Baz Schuten who is stuck at the side of the circuit. One or two great looking, well in fact there are 3 Mercedes enters by the Salazar Racing Team, but the two of them have a similar livery. It's silver grey with black underneath and green flashes on them, whereas their sister car with Johan van Arum driving has red flashes, but they do look good. I must say the AMG Mercedes, a very tidy, purposeful looking car. So still on this hot day at the Misano World Circuit, drivers trying to keep that heat in their tyres. So the camera car looking back in the face of Jörg Wiebahn. There is the 31 car being pulled away. Confirmation indeed that it is a Baz Schuten's car, unlucky Baz. But hopefully with that being pulled out of the way, we should be able to go racing all over again. Might have given the drivers a chance to open a window, get a bit of cooler air into their cars. But of course, once they start racing again, they'll wind them right up again. Car 39, just having a look at that in the general mix. Rewind technology started down the back of the grid in the hands of Sylvain Debs. So good to see the GT4 version, the M4, becoming increasingly popular. And certainly if you look at the front end of the field with Gabriele Piana up to 4th place. Safety car still out. We've got a few people visiting the pits. We've got a message saying pit window delay confirmed, new window to be announced, but someone has called into the pits. Trying to identify which car it was that came past me. Christopher Zerkling, he was 3rd position overall, and I think they're going to have to wave him through because the pit window isn't open. Oh dear, that could be a bit of a dropping of the ball, unfortunately, for the car that started from 3rd on the grid in the hands of Christopher Zerkling, but is wanting to hand over to Helmut Rödig. You can see, just trying to see where the car is. It's tucked in the pit lane, but it shouldn't be in there. Has he got a front left puncture? So the mechanic's taking a look at that corner, no hurry to put the other driver on board, but this is really unfortunate for the duo. Christopher Zerkling started from 3rd on the grid, the engine's fired up again, but has he overshot his pit as well? They're looking at, is it a cut in the tyre? No, clearly not, because they want him back out onto the circuit. There wasn't a driver change. Oh, maybe it just felt a little bit different going at the lower speed behind the safety car. So instead of being up at the front end of the field in 3rd overall, it's step up 1 position everyone else, and he will join at the back of the train of cars behind the safety car. There's the sister car leading the race for Phoenix Racing, Nikolai Moller-Madsen. He'll be handing over shortly to Milan Doncha. And that number 9 Camaro now up into 5th position overall in the hands of Duncan Houseman. Pit window will open very soon. Safety car in at the end of this lap. That's good news. The lights will be out very soon indeed on the roof of the safety car. They're out now, so certainly those behind, led by Nikolai Moller-Madsen, know full well what they have to do. Now, do they choose to come in just under 3 minutes' time? Or do they want to wait another 11 minutes beyond that when the window will close? But right now for this field, it's all about getting as close together as they can. They don't want the stretch concertina effect, and those at the back of the field lose even more time. Up front, you can see it's really, really tight. In the background, you can see York V-Barn diving into the pits. And again, I'm not sure that's quite correct. I think he still needs to wait another 2.5 minutes. Anyhow, up front, it's suddenly a chance for Ricardo van der Ende to make a challenge up into turn 1, but it's covered off by race leader Nikolai Moller-Madsen. Tucked in behind in third place is Gabriele Piana, the driver who keeps on moving up the order. Stephen Patrick in fourth in the Bullet Racing Mercedes. Gabriele Piana, his ascent up through the field has been remarkable. Here he is in third place, and I think if there's a slight slip up by Ricardo van der Ende, perhaps when challenging like he is now, the race leader Nikolai Moller-Madsen, this could be the moment that Piana's looking for. He's ducking in behind, getting super, super close, but Moller-Madsen, what a fantastic exit from turns 5 and 6. So down the sort of infield straight, up through the kink at 7, up to turn 8. He's got his nose in front, again in a straight line. The McLaren's very good, the nose in front, he's on the outside line. That surely won't yield the lead. Tail kicking out, Ricardo van der Ende trying to hang on to it. This is the opportunity for Gabriele Piana, but the BMW driver not quite close enough, but up the inside into turn 10. What a manoeuvre, what bravery, but too deep into the corner. Back into second place for Ricardo van der Ende. And round the outside, Matt Nicol-Jones, as if from nowhere, has moved up to about fourth place. 2, 3, 4 abreast down the back straight. The Aston Martin suddenly just coming up the order. Hand over fist, got ahead of the Camaro, up into fourth place, but it could have been higher. Wow, what a lap for Ricardo van der Ende. Nikolai Moller-Madsen was rather monstered there, and it wasn't just one driver challenging him. He suddenly had Piana there in the mix as well. And those first three now just starting to break. Oh no, Andy Merrick having had such a good run. Did he spin? Was he pushed? Either way, the Bullet Racing Mercedes off into the gravel. Not so long, the pit window opens in a minute's time. Get it out, come on, give your teammate a chance to go and play. But up front, it's not hope to know, up to the final corner. Leading on the way in went Rick van der Ende. He's second coming out of the corner because suddenly it's Moller-Madsen back into the lead of the race. The V8 Racing Camaros, you can see them in metallic blue in behind. Stuart Middleton's also gaining positions in the Ginetta. So there's been a real shake-up, but the star on that restart was definitely Matt Nicol-Jones up into fourth place in the Aston Martin. Now he's starting to challenge Piana's BMW for third, and equally Ricardo van der Ende in the Equipe Verschoor McLaren is pushing the race leader Nikolai Moller-Madsen. How many place changes did we have between the top 6 on that first lap after the restart? And now Matt Nicol-Jones up into third, the Academy Aston Martin up ahead of Piana. Maybe Piana's taking too much life out of his tyres, but certainly he was the one making the charge early on, but now he's the one under pressure. Here comes Duncan Houseman. In fact, it's Nicky Pastorelli who's in the better place of the V8 Racing Camaros. Houseman is back in 6th. Boy, oh boy, changes everywhere. And then Moller-Madsen runs very wide indeed. This gives the McLaren driver a chance to close back in as they go up to turn 10. This is where it really all started happening, but it started happening at turn 8. But by the time we got to turn 10, changes were aplenty as drivers were slow out of turn 8, others were a little bit quicker. Thus, we had the potential for place change, and still it goes on. Coming down the back straight, there's a big challenge for fourth place. Piana being pushed very hard indeed by Nicky Pastorelli. And again, in a straight line, the McLaren's so good around the outside. I'm not sure you really want to do that through Curvone, turn 11. But of course, it's a long run down to the far end of the lap, and that's the point at which you need to be on the inside line at turn 14. And that is where the Audi is still in front. It's not for want of trying by the McLaren racer van der Ende. Look, they've got a little bit of an advantage now, a bit of a gap back to Matt Nicol-Jones. He's got Gabriele Piana starting to come back at him. The pit window is open in all of that. This time around, they can legitimately dive into the pits. Don't forget, we had the fumble from the number 6 Audi. That's dropped it down the order. We think maybe a penalty too for Jorg V-Barn. Came in too early. Oh, and even worse, Jorg V-Barn's under investigation for speeding in the pit lane to compound the problem. Maybe that was the moment when he realised he was in too early and kept going. So he hasn't been able to affect the driver change. So Moller-Madsen would have to hand over to Jean-Louis Jasper, but he can't. But he couldn't do it when he first came in. Second time around, he might be able to. So as cars start to make their pit stops, the front runners aren't interested in calling in just yet. Number 9 pushing on as before. Nicky Pastorelli running 5th, and number 9, his teammate for V8 Racing, Duncan Houseman, in that 7-car getaway group. And on the back of it is Stuart Middleton in the HHC Ginetta. He was stuck down in about 12th position for lap after lap until the safety car period, but he's pounced and he's got clear of those around him and is now playing with the bigger boys up at the front of the field. Ooh, big wide line there for the Aston Martin in 3rd place overall. Matt Nicol-Jones will be handing that over to Fiona James, and is running very much at the sharp end of the field. There is confirmation, of course, the drive-through penalty for car number 6. So I'm afraid any chance of points for Jörg Wiebahn out of the window now. So I think with the pit window having been shifted back, it just caught out some of the teams. Perhaps their radios weren't working, perhaps no one thought to tell them. And certainly for Jörg Wiebahn, that has been an expensive mistake. First to second, there's been a much better lap for Nikolai Moller-Madsen. It was a third of a second last time around. The gap 0.6 more, 0.938 of a second, the advantage over Ricardo van der Ende. Third place, Matt Nicol-Jones, leading the Pro-Am class in that Aston Martin. So there are our top 3, Nikolai Moller-Madsen, so fair bit of argy-bargy, bit of pushing wide in that lead battle and all the way down the field. So who's going to be coming next? Overtaking under the safety car, car 38. That is the big wrap around the knuckles. That's one of the 3-wide technology BMWs, but certainly on the rise. It's still Nikolai Moller-Madsen. He's had to fight to get in the lead. He had to fight to retain the lead, and certainly Ricardo van der Ende pushing him very hard indeed in the McLaren. And again, we see that very, very wide line from Matt Nicol-Jones in third place, and the BMW in fourth, Gabriele Piana, getting closer and closer, taking very different lines up around turns 9 and 10 and hunting them down behind those 2 V8 Racing Chevrolet Camaros, looking very mean and still trying to hang on the back of that pack is the HHC Ginetta. There it is in 7th place overall, and as you can see, then really quite a gap back to Giovanelli, who's started from 4th on the grid and is now down in 8th. Car 87, nice new livery for this year. That's Nico Rindisbacher will be handing over to Paul Rees. And that's not quite at the sharp end of the field. Giovanelli still hanging on, being hunted down. Giovanelli has got the 88 McLaren Alain Valent tucked in behind him in the Pro-Am class. There you can see them running out of turn 16, the final corner. As you can see, the drivers at the front end of the field, they're not so interested in coming in to make their pit stops. They're enjoying their time out on the track, but their teammates will get a go shortly. Oh dear. Car 4 now has a black and white warning flag for disrespecting track limits at turn 6. Don't forget, car 4 was the one that came in too soon from 3rd place overall. Christopher Zirkling. So much like the sister car number 6, problems for 2 of the Phoenix Racing cars, but certainly not the one that's leading the race, the number 5. Looking very good. 1.1 seconds clear of Ricardo van der Ende, and then there's a little bit of a gap opening up back to 3rd place, and Aston Martin still hanging on. Cars breaking into packs of sort of 2 or 3 further down towards the tail end of the top 10. Yet again, that very, very wide line through turn 9 from the Aston Martin doesn't seem to hinder it, but from the long shot, it makes it look as though the BMW behind in Gabriele Piana's hands has an opportunity to go up the inside. So pit window's still open, but these front runners are going to be coming in very soon indeed. I think they've still got 5 minutes to play with. We end with 22 minutes remaining on the clock. You can see we've still got 27 minutes. In the Am Cup, Giovanelli, who's just having a great run, 7 and a bit seconds clear of the number 42, Nicholas Schurl, Porsche Cayman, entered by Allied Racing. So that's a nice, tidy advantage. Nicky Leutwiler, 3rd in the Am Cup. He is down 15 seconds back, but he won't be handing over to anyone. He's one of the 3 drivers in the field who are driving solos. They'll stay stationary in the pit lane for a while, but you can see some great pushing on there. Giovanelli, the 76 Porsche, being pushed very, very hard indeed now by Valent. Gabriele Piana's just dived into the pits from 4th place. The others in front staying out for longer. So it's Nikolai Moller-Madsen, Ricardo van der Ende, and then Matt Nicol-Jones. There is Gabriele Piana's BMW 111 making its driver change in the pits. So will this be an advantage? Don't forget he was in 4th place overall. BMW's come in, he'll be handing over to Ravzan Uberescu. Drivers running around to get in their cars, maybe didn't park in the right position. As they went past the 111, BMW stationary in the pit stop. So, race leader Nikolai Moller-Madsen sitting on that advantage, just under a second clear Two cars that started on the front row, but in reversed order. The McLaren started on pole position, and that has fallen back to second place. Not for want of trying. It has had its nose in front. It led the early laps of the race, but since falling back, it has gone in front, but then fallen back again. And now it seems to have settled in, and we're getting close to the end of the pit stop window. So these drivers are going to have to come in from the front of the field sometime soon. Matt Nicol-Jones, you can see in the Aston Martin, is another 2 and a bit seconds back in at third place overall. But the BMW that was on his tail in the hands of Gabriele Piana has made its pit stop, and just being told when it can go out to rejoin the race. There is a minimum pit stop time, and hopefully by this, the third round of the championship, no team will be going out having not been stationary for the mandatory time, because penalties for that wreck all their activities out on the circuit. So in from second place, Ricardo van der Ende. He's going to be handing over to Finlay Hutchison. We heard from Finlay at the start of the race. He was on the grid. We heard from him and from Milan Donci, who will be taking over from Nikolai Moller-Madsen when he brings that Phoenix Racing Audi in, presumably at the end of this lap. Conditions still absolutely fantastic. 25 minutes remaining in this race. I've just had confirmation the pit window closes at 23 minutes to go, so we've got 1.5 minutes until that point. Therefore, the cars that are on the lap at the moment will be coming in this time around. Because the average lap times they're recording a good race lap time is 1 minute 43. So not enough time to throw an extra lap in. The number 9 V8 Racing Camaro, Duncan Hausmann, will be handing that over to Luke Brahms. And that did very well to move up from the 9th row to run in 6th place overall. So this time around, we should have Nikolai Moller-Madsen, who's led the race. He's been second. He's back in the lead of the race. He was second. He got back again. Now he's going to stretch it out, because the in-lap is super important to them as well. The crew's getting ready with the stopwatches, making sure their drivers are stationary for the minimum amount of time, and no longer, but certainly no shorter. Shorter, way worse than longer. But number 5, Nikolai Moller-Madsen, pushing on, trying to find a 1/10 of a second here, a 1/10 of a second there, before handing over to his teammate Milan Donci, the Dutchman. The window's still open, but as you can see, it's nearly coming to an end. It comes to an end when it says 23:00 at the top of the screen. Just been a massive hit in the pit lane from the race leader. Nikolai Moller-Madsen coming in has just hit the barriers underneath my commentary box. I heard a car spinning, and I don't know what the damage is, but it was a big hit. So look out for the number 5 Audi in the pit lane. That was a very surprising moment. He did that. I was talking about him doing the quickest in-lap he possibly could. And still, there is the damage on the front of the 111 car. Let's have a look. Which corner of the rear? Yes, you can see this corner on the driver's right rear has taken the hit on the barriers. He obviously came in too fast. He's probably going to go around and have a look at the back of the car, because it's a curved, kinked entrance to the pit lane. On the inside of the final corner, the rear wing is obviously all askew as well. Oh dear, what a great race he had. And then just that moment, it's sort of a bit like David Coulthard in the Australian Grand Prix in about whatever year it was, at Adelaide in the 90s, when he hit the pit entrance and blew his opportunity. So for Nikolai Moller-Madsen, he drove a fantastic 35 minutes in the race. Great racing, really fair racing with Ricardo van der Ende, and then suddenly the advantage is with this car. Now in the hands of Finlay Hutchison. It challenged for the lead, it led, it went back to second place. Now clearly in the lead of the race, because the Audi will probably go back out into the race, but it's certainly hampered by that collision at pit entry, so it really will be a case of move up everyone. Finlay Hutchison, Scottish racer, the number 10 McLaren, won't know unless the team has managed to spot that. They won't see it on the screens, but you don't have a camera down beneath my box, but there's a definite screech of tyres and a thump of a car hitting the barriers, and unfortunately for the number 5 Audi, it completes the form problem for the Phoenix Racing team. With the sister cars, number 4 and 6, have had drive-through penalties, and they've come into the pits too soon, and now an unfortunate unforced error at pit entry. And the number 5 car just trying to shave those final 1/10 of a second off its lap time before hitting the pit speed limiter just beneath the commentary box. Instead, he hit the barriers beneath the commentary box, and so that really should put the advantage. And who knows if it's going to be the race win, but certainly the race lead should now be going to that number 10 McLaren for Ricky for sure. Well, the Audi's come back in front of it, but let's take a look at the damage. That rear wing on the far side, the end plate was kinked up. Well, he's come back in front. I just wondered if he'd get in front, but more to the point, how the car is going to handle. haven't even managed to take that bodywork up on the right rear corner. It goes on like this, and the bodywork is still tight. No, it's coming loose already. He might have to have a warning for that, but the McLaren is looking one side, looking the other. You can see that bodywork flapping out, but still, Milan Doncic is leading the race, but that bodywork, watch it at speed, that might start to come away from the rear of the car. Finley Hutchinson will be able to see the damage. He's going up around the outside, but we saw his teammate Ricardo van der Ende also taking to the outside. No, that's not going to work at the early part of the lap, but trying to tuck underneath could be good for the McLaren. Again, in a straight line, it's a little bit quicker, it's a little bit sleeker, but put on the grass, that's fairly tough. So Finley Hutchinson says, you won't let me by on that side. I will go to the other side of the circuit and see if I can find a place to make my mark. But it's a long run down to turn 13 and 14. The McLaren looking a little bit loose as it tries and finds position. There's 13 into 14, running wide again. The McLaren just looks tidier through the sharper corners. There is 14, not enough space between there and the end of the lap to get your nose in front, but the officials will certainly be looking at the right rear corner of that Phoenix Racing Audi. I can't believe with that rear wing. In fact, the rear wing, I think it's just the end plate was flipped up. It looks like mechanics pushed it back down. It's sitting in the right positions. They come up the start, finish straight, but you can see the McLaren is so super close. And yet earlier we had a place change between the two of them there. This time around it wasn't happening for the McLaren driver. He's got just under 20 minutes remaining in this race. Oh, to make a move, to make a challenge. But the Audi does seem very good through the tighter corners. Car number 2, warning on the screen. Under investigation for pit stop time. I said I hoped at this point of the championship that no crews will be getting it wrong and going too soon. That might put Motorsport with their Mercedes, shared by Marcus Paverud from Norway and Spanish racer Ivan Pereira, may have got it slightly wrong between them. And one final warning for track limits. It's now Stephen Patrick, but he's probably building on those given to his teammate Andy Merrick earlier in the race. The Bullet Racing Mercedes. But this battle is absolutely enthralling. Out of turn 8, it's still the Audi in front. Very defensive driving from Dutch racer Milan Doncic. Leaves half a chink of a door being open. From this side, the number 5 Audi looks undamaged, but as you can see, we look at the driver's right rear corner, it's really taken a bit of a thump. Stop and go penalty. 1 second stop and go for the number 2 Mercedes, but that will send them tumbling down the order there in 18th. No, they're not, sorry, they're in 7th place overall. That'll get them outside the top 10. So really, by shaving a second off or so, it's cost them big time. But hard to take one's eyes off this lead battle. It's still Milan Doncic in behind. Finley Hutchinson pushing very hard indeed, trying to find a gap, but the Dutch racer leaving no gaps at all. And it's not just my eyes. I think that rear bodywork is coming further away from the back of the car. So we'll see what the officials do. Do they want to give a black and white warning flag? Can we see one displayed? There was a board being held out from the pit wall. I couldn't see if that was to this. And we'll see a marshal sticking through with a board up. That is the sort of place you would be indicating a black and white warning flag. I've had no, sorry, black and orange warning flag for loose body parts on the car. I couldn't see if that's what it was, but certainly that bodywork is flapping rather more. The back of the race-leading Audi. Ooh, tail starting to swing around on the McLaren now. Sometimes happens when you get a little too close in behind. Maserati running in their path. Is he going to make it easy for the race leader coming through or the driver chasing? It's always a factor that has to be considered. Again, the tail of Hutchinson's McLaren starting to wag. Whereas earlier in the race, the McLaren looked so super tidy through the corners. Much more so than the cars it was playing with the BMWs and the Audis at the front. But now at this point, it's suddenly getting a little bit loose. Maybe it's being pushed very hard. Well, it's definitely being pushed very hard indeed. Again, down the long sweeping straight, tries to find the outside line. It was also tried by Ricardo van der Ende. But you have to tuck back in through turn 12 and 13, and so he tucks. Still that Maserati in front of them. The rumble of the Maserati, very distinctive engine notes as it accelerates away. Oh dear, so we had the warning track limits, and I'm afraid car 33 off into the gravel at turn 3, so out and beyond for the 33 Mercedes. So Stephen Patrick's put it off into the litter. Maciej Marcinkiewicz just in the way of the race-leading duo. Is he going to be able to be in a point on the circuit where he can just pull over the side without hampering his lap too much to let the lead duo through? And as you can see, the gap between first and second is sort of yo-yoing, but not by a lot. Oh, well done from Markincevic. He kept out of the way very nicely. We seem to have a safety car out on the circuit just behind the first two cars. So first and second have gone through, and 111 BMW will be behind the safety car, and that is for the removal of car number 33. The drivers who've gone through the first three corners will have seen it. Stephen Patrick's Mercedes in the gravel, but in the back of the shot you should be seeing there is a safety car, but he hasn't caught the first two runners in the field. He's picked up Umberescu's, the 111 BMW, in third place overall, and in behind him Will Tregurtha, now up to fourth in the HHC Motorsport Ginetta. So they've made place gains, but he hasn't picked up the first two, and now they appear to be running at reduced pace while waiting for this car, which is embedded in the gravel. Bullet Racing Mercedes to be pulled clear. See the edge of the track, see the deep gravel bed and the coloured runoff area where the pickup, the rescue vehicle, is now on terra firma. Hopefully he can get that Mercedes out of there, but of course with the safety car the field will be backing up on itself. But don't forget, those first two cars were ahead of the safety car. The safety car is about turn 11, a kinked right-hander, Curvone as it's called. Well, there's a replay of Andy Merrick just getting, not Andy Merrick, sorry, having handed the car over to Stephen Patrick. Stephen Patrick going for a little bit of a spin. But here running at reduced pace. Clearly the first two cars in the field, but they need to be behind the safety car instead of almost, well, they're half a lap ahead of it. There's Markincevic in the number 14 Maserati Gran Turismo. He's showing with his fellow Pole, Lucas Kresge. Shouldn't be too long for this Mercedes to be recovered, but what we need to do is get our race order recovered. SC at the boards being held up around the circuit, waved yellow flags to all of the crew, but this pair, the car with the tattered rear end, the race leader, and Finley Hutchinson in the McLaren tucked in behind, are not in the train of cars behind the safety car. So it could lead to a longer safety car period while this is all sorted out. First and second cars in the race just going through turn 8. You've got the long shot looking down from turn 10. The safety car is waving everyone through, so as soon as he worked that out, after 3/4 of a lap, he's waving the entire field through, then he'll pull out and eventually pop up ahead of the first two. But what that means is the rest of the field has now got to get a real move on to try and get back round to get as close as they can to the tail of the car in second place. Tail of the car in second place, well, will be protected by the Maserati, which is running around behind them. But the rest of the field has to catch up with this lot, because otherwise, if they're released, they will have gained effectively 3/4 of a lap, and that will nail down first and second. In which order they finish remains to be seen. But we just want to go racing all over again, because it's an enthralling battle. That Audi, you can see the area of damage where there's a spin on the way into the pit stop by Nikolai Moller-Madsen, bashed the right rear corner. Hasn't got any further, hasn't broken away any more. Certainly after the first couple of laps it was hanging out a bit more, but since then, maybe because it's running at reduced pace behind the safety car, it has been loose. So there's the Bullet Racing Mercedes back in the race, being pulled clear. There is the safety car looking to pick up the race leading duo. He just missed them when it came out onto the circuit. So he'll run very slowly indeed. Having waved the others through, now waiting for our race leading duo to come onto his tail. It's not, well, we just need the Ginetta to go through, white, yellow and red Ginetta. Go through, and then we should have the race leader onto his tail. That number 5 Audi is the car he wants to have behind him. So the Ginetta is indeed waved through. That now has a lot of sprinting to do to try and catch the tail of the field. That's the one that has potentially lost out the most. Weirdly, very nearly ran off the track at turn 8 as he set off. So the race leading Audi tucked in behind the safety car. Audi behind Audi, but it's the McLaren behind the second Audi, behind the number 5 Audi is the one that really counts, because Finley Hutchinson, he's had a few little moments trying to get very, very close indeed to make a passing manoeuvre on the Phoenix Racing number 5 Audi. Hasn't worked as yet, but maybe on the restart, just maybe. Still no warning screens, suggestions of a black and orange mechanical failure warning flag for the number 5 Audi. So they've obviously decided that rear bodywork is flapping, but it's not looking as though it's going to break any further clear. Field is starting to catch up because the safety car is just approaching turn 11 and the best of the rest is turning into turn 9. They still need to press on. Hopefully we'll have another lap enabling them to catch up, but in fact if they really get a move on now, but it's up to the train to be as close as they possibly can, and with some wise old heads on board a lot of these cars. Luke Brahms, for example, he knows his stuff. He's running in 6th place, but he needs to get a bit more of a move on, and so does the sister car, Wolf Nathan. And they're doing that now. In fact, by the end of this lap, we should be good to go. Someone just pulled off the circuit on the exit of turn 8. So something's gone wrong behind the safety car. It looks like it's a Porsche Cayman. Can't quite tell as I look into the sunshine. But the good news is the front end cars, safety car in at the end of this lap. So yes, indeed, he's done a good enough job. Yes, there is the BMW Umberescu 111. He's tucked in behind the Maserati that's running 3rd in that train of cars behind the safety car. The Maserati is a lap down though. So safety car in at the end of this lap. We are about to go racing all over again. Now, will it be the damaged Audi that goes on to win this race? Will the McLaren be able to dive through with Finlay Hutchinson on board? It could be the BMW tucked in behind that gets to make the move. So out of the final corner, the hammer is dropped by Milan Doncha. Looked like a better run up the start-finish straight by the McLaren, but he's on the wrong line. He's on the outside line as they go into turn 1. His nose is in front, but he's going to have to back off so he can turn into the corner. Not enough alongside to try and get ahead into turn 2. He's ducking in the inside, and again Milan Doncha's got his cover. He said, if you're coming around the outside, coming past me, you've got to go the whole way around the outside of the Variante del Parco, turn number 3. But he's got it covered up to turn 4, and that Maserati is rather obstructing the Umberescu BMW behind. That's giving an opportunity to Will Tregurtha in the Ginetta. They both want to get past the Maserati. It's nowhere near as quick as they are, and as they don't get past it at this point, it means the Audi leading the race, number 5, and the number 10 McLaren are making good their escape. You can see Umberescu flashing his lights. He's got to be more positive than that down into turn 10. The Maserati stays as wide as he possibly can. Will Tregurtha trying to get a bit closer. They're still behind the Maserati though. This is a challenge again up the outside to turn 9. Finlay Hutchinson, we've seen this before. He shows wide and then tries to dive up the inside at the tighter corner, turn 10. Doesn't make it work, but his car is sleeker in a straight line. So down this long run from turn 10 to 13, 14, which are at the end of the straight, this is the opportunity, but they're always shown the outside line, and yet again, no change there. Milan Doncha says around the outside you will go, and well, around the outside he did go. What a fantastic move for the lead of the race there by Finlay Hutchinson. We've seen him out there before. He hasn't managed to complete it. He's gone through the flick at turn 13. He's still in front, and the Audi tries to go up the inside. Is there going to be contact down at turn 14? The Audi is back in front, but he's on the wrong line for when they get to turn 15. So what a great job, and he's not backing off either. He's going to run right the way around the outside. Gives a little bit of a barge there. Was the contact between 15 and 16? But through 16, the final corner, it's the Audi back in front again, which seems a shame because that was such a bold move from Finlay Hutchinson. He really did deserve to keep the lead there, but certainly Milan Doncha being very robust indeed. There were a fair few swerves and the battered, broken BMW in behind after those early contacts is really pushing on. See what he can do. He can see this battle, wants to get close to it. He's managed to drop the Ginetta. Will Tregurtha doing his utmost, but can't quite stay with it. And with 7.5 minutes remaining, there could still be more challenges at the front. It could be the McLaren winning the race, it could be the BMW, but at the moment, by being super robust and never ever giving up in an opportunity, Milan Doncha leading that bodywork is now starting to hang a little bit lower off the back of his Audi. And just for the sake of housekeeping, car 43, Jan Kasperlik, his was the Porsche Cayman that pulled off at the very point. They're just passing on the right-hand side of the screen. You can see it pulled off. There is the lead battle all over again. Milan Doncha leading from Finlay Hutchinson. Hutchinson again looking for the outside line at turn 9. And then the tighter entry to turn 10 onto the back straight. Again, it doesn't quite work. It was exactly the same position as last time around. And don't forget the McLaren that much better down the back straight. Again, is mounting manoeuvre. Again, it's to the outside of the corner. This time though, Doncha, the Dutch racer, has got his nose a little bit further forward in the mix, and therefore should be okay. But again, just more speed and more bravery. Around the outside goes Hutchinson. But don't forget, he was challenged up the inside. He's going to be challenged again. Is there going to be contact down at 13 as it goes to turn 14? But Doncha has done a carbon copy to regain the lead. It's chopping and it's changing at the various points around the circuit here at Misano. if you've just arrived and you're looking and you think, did the McLaren clip the back of the Audi and do that damage to the race-leading car? No, it was on the way into the pits, the driver change. Nikolai Moller-Madsen spun the car, thumped the barriers, got the car going again, and by dint of there being a minimum pit stop time, was able to have the driver change in good time. Didn't look as though they got the sticky tape out to repair the back of the Audi, however, but he came back in the lead of the race. It looked as though the McLaren was going to be able to just simply move ahead, but the Audi doesn't seem to be affected by the rear end contact, so it must simply be bodywork damage. This time around, the McLaren just simply isn't as close. So, are we going to have a change at the front? Rescue still pushing on very hard indeed in the third place BMW. In behind him, Will Tregurtha, actually marginally closed in last time around. So here at the top four, there's a little bit of a gap back to car we've hardly talked about. Number 16 is up into 5th overall. It's Hamza Ovega handed over to Markus Lundstrass. And Lundstrass leading the Pro-Am class is in 5th overall, just at the back of the shot. But up front, though, of course, we keep our eyes on the screen. We keep our eyes on the battle between the number 5 Audi from Phoenix Racing and the number 10 Equipe Verschoor McLaren. They're holding down the first 2 places. They've got plenty of company behind them, but here comes yet another move down that long straight up to Cavone on the outside, as he has been before. Trying, though, this side, the inside. He wasn't closing around the outside fast enough. He's been chopped up the inside before, but this time he had, just too deep into the corner. I'm afraid our race leader is no longer the race leader. Milan Doncha has taken the country route. How he's managed to miss the barriers on the outside. He cut across. He was shot by Hutchison going up the inside rather than the outside this time. Missed his braking point. And for Nikolai Moller-Madsen, he can't watch anymore. They fought so hard. They had the contact, thought they might have blown it, and yet to still be challenging and leading this race. It was all looking very good indeed. As the clock counts down, they're into the final 5 minutes. And there's actually a little warning message on my screen. Overtaking of car number 5 and under 10 under investigation. Overtaking under safety car. Well, let's ignore that for now. Here is the BMW, now in 2nd place. Umberescu building on the work started by Gabriele Piana. Likewise, Finley Hutchinson, all those dives, and finally one paid off for him. But really, it was the fact that the car he didn't manage to pass this time around was the one that went spinning out of the lead of the race. Milan Donchi has rejoined, but way down the order. He's in fact crossed the line in 6th position overall. But here's a replay, up the inside rather than the outside this time. And was actually nowhere near the Audi when it lost its moment, just simply left the braking way too late into turn 13. Turn 13 turns to 14, and that is one way to go and meet the marshals. But Donchi didn't waste actually too much time, kicked up a cloud of smoke, cloud of dust as he drove out of the gravel trap. But for Phoenix Racing, suddenly they're down the order. And now we've got there, 16, and we've got 2 of the Audis nose to tail, Markus Lundstrass and teammate Patrick Zamparini, also from Racing 1, up into 4th and 5th positions, both running in the Pro-Am class. 3 minutes remaining in this race. So it's going to be Hutchinson from Umberescu and Will Tregurtha in the HHC class. In the Pro-Am Cup class, it's Lundstrass who's running in 4th overall, Zamparini in 5th, and Wolf Nathan, who is 7th overall in one of those 2 V8 Racing Camaros. So it shows the Pro-Am runners can run right at the sharp end of the field and really very, very close to the Silver Cup runners. So 16 leading the way, Markus Lundstrass 4th overall leading that Pro-Am Cup class. Top 3 there is Lundstrass, the red nose on his red and grey Audi, and his teammate not so far behind, Patrick Zamparini. And there is Milan Doncha, still going after that massive moment where he went skating off the circuit, didn't get the braking done down at turn 13. Behind, having been bunched up by the safety car. Big off-track moment for number 6 in front of my commentary box, now yet more challenging. Just as tight as it was at the start of the race. Looking for positions the whole way down the field. Car number 76 started 4th, and that's unfortunately been dropped down the order now to 15th overall, but that is leading the Am Cup class by only 4.2 seconds from Joachim Bolting, and Nicky Leutwiler, 3rd in class, just another second behind, so that's very close indeed. Yeah, a little bit of tagging, number 4 Audi, so all of the Phoenix Racing Audis have more than a few stories to tell in this race. Number 5 spun out of the lead of the race, number 4 drive-through penalty and a spin. The number 6 car had its own problems in the pits, but a car that hasn't had the problems, it's worked its way solidly through this race, is the number 10 Equipe Verschoor. McLaren leading the race now by 1.7 seconds. A minute left remaining until the checkered flag can be unfurled. Razvan Umberescu, second overall, giving chase in the BMW, but the clock is not going to be its friend. So place is still changing all the way to the flag. 40 seconds added to the race-leading McLaren and the number 5 Audi, I'm afraid. You can see, so there is our race leader, and he's got 40 seconds added to his time. So suddenly that means victory is going to go, surely, to Umberescu's BMW. Will Tregurtha will now take second place. Third place will go to the top car in the Pro-Am class, Markus Lundstras. Of course, that message won't have been got through to the driver who's going to take the checkered flag in the lead of the race. It is the number 10 McLaren. What a shame, there's been some really sterling drives by the number 5 Audi crew and the number 10 McLaren crew, but with those 40-second penalties, they're going to come away with absolutely nothing from this event other than another chapter called experience. So we've reached the end of the 1 hour point now, and the car that will be first to the finish line that will take the checkered flag will have a 40-second penalty added to its time, and that will drop it somewhere, I don't even want to do the maths, way outside the top 10 of this field. So nothing is over till it's over. There is the car that is going to come through and take victory in the race. The number 111 BMW. 40 seconds, clearly it has a massive amount of time. It will take you down, I would reckon, to about nearly 30th position. So the car that has really been fighting for the lead, that McLaren, started from pole position. Oh, the 42 car is out as well. The sister car from Allied Racing is off field early now. Joachim Bolting, who was second in the Pro-Am class, in the Am class, is suddenly out of the reckoning. So it really is a case of all change in the final couple of minutes. But what we can tell you now is that the 111 BMW is going to come through to take victory for the RN Vision STS team. And the driver that's going to beat him to the flag, Finlay Hutchinson, that number 10 McLaren, coming through turn 16, the final corner for the final time. We'll see the checkered flag, but he will not be the winner. So victory, well, he's still listed as the winner, but with 40 seconds, I can guarantee that we'll see him tumbling down the order. So Umberescu would have won the race from Will Tregurtha. Third across the line, Markus Lundstras in the number 16, Racing 1 Audi, and his teammate in the 77 Audi crosses the line in fourth. So Umberescu 2.3 seconds down at the finish, but with 40 seconds being added to the elapsed time, the race completion time of the number 10 McLaren, that has sent it tumbling down outside the top 20. And Giuseppe Getzi should be heading for victory, but only just from Nicky Leutwiler in the Am class. You can see that 76 Porsche coming through in about 12th place. I think those are applauding each other. I have to just check that's the RN Vision STS team, so they do know their drivers won. Equally, there'll be despondent faces up at Equipe Verschure. And yes, just to confirm that the Am class was won by Getzi from Nicky Leutwiler. And third place in class went to the number 30 entry of Nicolas van der Donk. But, well, what a race of incident. It's clearly not over. There's a crabbing Mercedes. Obviously had some contact. Look how that can't keep a straight line on the grass. So even right at the end, we were having moments out around the circuit. So, how did 5 and 10 lose the race? Look for the safety car. There's the safety car. They've just that's on the circuit, and they've just overtaken the Maserati. So it's down to a matter of seconds. They should have been able to see the safety car coming out of the pits. They would have just come out of turn 2, entering turn 3. They'd have been shaping up the Maserati, suddenly seen the safety car, but they were already making the passing manoeuvre. So it's very, very hard form for both of them. But with a 40-second penalty, Finlay Hutchinson has ended down in 20th position overall, and Milan Donci down in 25th. Not so long ago, they were contesting the lead of the race. So it really was a case of all change. Gosh, so much incident in this GT4 European Series event. But actually, you have to say that though the first two, the 5 Audi and the number 10 McLaren fought so hard, this number 111 BMW came up from the outside of the 6th row, fought its way cleanly up the order, and takes a really, I'd say, a very deserved win. Gabriele Piana kicked it off. Razvan Umberescu brought it home. And a car that's featuring very well this season, the HHC Motorsport Ginetta Will Tregurtha, got that up to second place. At one point it was running around in 12th, so a lot of joy and almost unexpected joy there. Umberescu very, very pleased with life. And Gabriele Piana, who was able to watch that unfold from up on the pit wall, yeah, he's a very happy man indeed. So, massive intermark rivalry, huge amount of overtaking and ducking and diving through the course that race, and what a great advertisement for the GT4 European Series. So that was a phenomenal series of events. It lasted an hour. It felt as though it lasted only half an hour. It was went by so quickly, and I don't think there's a driver in that field who doesn't have a story or mishap to go with their activity through this afternoon. But it's been thoroughly entertaining from start to finish, and it really was right the way to the finish with that late 40-second penalty for the two cars that have been fighting out for honours for the majority of the race at the front of the field. The Phoenix Racing number 5 Audi and the Equipe Verschoor McLaren that started from pole position. They've come away without the points that really they probably very much deserved. And car number 8 has also picked up a 40-second penalty for causing a collision. That was Mark van der Aar and Koen Burgarts. But let's go down and join our winners from the 111 BMW. Ravsan Umberescu and Gabriele Piana.
Boys, you must be so happy with that win. Sorry, we're just trying to get out of the way of all the cars moving here. Superb win. I can see a lot of high-fiving and stuff going on there.
Yeah, it was a super tough season up until now. We had all the bad luck, and even yesterday we didn't come here to test. So yesterday was raining, so we had no idea how the car would feel, and so I had no words. I mean, we got a little bit lucky, but we also had it. We were there, so it means that we were good.
And you must be absolutely ecstatic bringing the car home in P1.
Yes, I'm super stoked. We waited for this from the first race, but I don't know, something came up and it didn't happen, but now we finally got lucky and it happened.
More slapping. On to the next one, boys. Congratulations.
Right, thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Dakota. Well, it's great to see a Romanian driver up on the podium. That's Ravsan Umberescu. But you're talking about not having good form. This season has been 11th, 21st, 32nd, 10th, and now first. You can see how the pendulum has very much swung the way of the RN Vision STS BMW drivers. So there it is, the race results. 1.3 seconds clear of Will Tregertha and Stuart Middleton. So victory for BMW over Ginetta. Top car in the Pro-Am class. Great performance from Marcus Lundstrass and Hamza Ovega in their Audi. Coming home in 3rd place overall. Patrick Zamperini and Saba Moore, their teammates, following them home in 4th. Then a bit of a gap to Simon Knapp and Max Kobalt. Paul Rees and Nico Rindisbach, I didn't see so much of them, but they worked their way up to 6th place overall in their Team GT McLaren. So great performances up and down the field, but I think people will be talking for really quite a long time about the penalty, the 40-second penalties, the contacts, the overtaking manoeuvres, and by golly, there were so many of those throughout the course of the race. Thoroughly entertaining action. And we're going to do it all over again tomorrow here at the Misano World Circuit. And certainly some of the cars that got right up to the front went right down to the back. Not so long ago we had Matt Nicol-Jones in the car he shed with Fiona James running in 3rd position just before the driver changeover. And look how they've ended up down in 27th. So some went up, some went down, but thoroughly entertaining from start to finish. We had about 8 or so that didn't make it to the finish, but 44 cars coming out to play on the 4.2 kilometer circuit. Certainly it got very tight at times, but it was never less than enthralling. It didn't matter if you're coming in 1st place or 17th place, you had someone to go playing with. And I think for the fans here in the wonderful sunshine here on the Adriatic coast of Italy, it's been a great afternoon of entertainment. And it's a packed programme, so we've got much more racing to follow, but really from start to finish, it's been a blaze of colour, of sound, of overtaking and attempted overtaking. Safety cars coming out at various points of the race, but it just has been entertainment with a capital E. So I think everybody involved with the GT4 European Series will be very happy. They've laid down a really powerful marker here at the Misano World Circuit. But no drivers will be happier than Ravsan Umberescu, who brought the 111 BMW home at the end of the race. Gabriele Piana, his teammate, who did the early stage. At this point in the race, when we look at the highlights, their car's down in the middle of the top end of the front 10 there, are just on the outside being pushed wide at the first turn. At about 7th place at this early stage of the race. Of course, there was a lot more to happen. The Bullet Racing Mercedes right in the middle of the mix. They had a very good opening sequence as well. But you must say, looking at these 44 cars, they really behaved in the early stages of the race. A bit of a flame out off the back of one of the McLarens, then a massive off from the Maserati, but somehow just missing the barriers The HHC Motorsport Ginetta fighting hard with the 76 Orlando Sport Porsche 911. Then we had this car going off to bring out the safety car. That was Baz Schuten, unfortunately, his Celislaw Mercedes. But the safety cars led to these really exciting restarts when the field just seemed to get closer and closer. Then almost racing in the pit lane, not allowed to race, so you just have to bide your time until the safety car has got out of the way. But there, lots of exasperation in the pit there from the number 6 Audi crew, and it didn't go their way. But the battle constant between the number 10 McLaren there, challenging so hard the Phoenix Racing number 5 Audi, and there were several moments when the McLaren ended up on the grass, but a nice metronomic run, keeping it clean. The 111 BMW kept on picking its way up the order. Gabriele Piana handed it over to Razvan Umbarescu. Here comes the number 5 Audi, but look, there's damage to the right rear corner of the car, clouted the barriers on the way into the pit lane, and for the rest of the race, the bodywork was flapping. And the person who wasn't flapping, though, was Milan Doncia at the wheel of the car. There's a bit of a spin, the Bullet Racing Mercedes going off. This caused a second safety car period, and here is a moment that pivots the race. The safety car was just coming out as the race leaders went through. As he got onto the track, they overtook the Maserati that we saw spinning earlier, the tail end of the field, and that was going to cost them 40 seconds each. But they had business to do before that. They had overtaking to try. And Finley Hutchinson really looked left, he looked right, he tried the outside, he tried the inside. Then when he went up the inside, it was as though Milan Doncic just was put off, didn't look at his braking point, missed it, and then he went for a massive drive through the gravel trap on the outside, just missing the barriers. So the McLaren was first to the finish line, but in the intervening couple of minutes, they'd both been hit with a 40-second penalty for that pass on the safety car. And that handed victory to the 111 BMW that came home second on the track, but with the 40-second penalty, the pit crew being taken down. But they took that win, and by gosh, they're very, very happy indeed. So Giovanelli and Jetsi, they won the AM Cup honours. The Orlando Sport Porsche crew, Giuseppe Jetsi and Alessandro Giovanelli.
È il momento di premiare il podio, aspettiamo l'ok della GT4 Silver.
In fact, those were for taking pole in their classes.
Un applauso per il team olandese MDM Motorsport, Simon Knapp, Max Kiebolt, pronti a salire sul podio, accolti da un grande applauso. Argento per l'equipaggio numero
MDM Motorsport crew going out onto the podium.
Motorsport, squadra britannica, William Trigursta, Stuart Middleton. E la vittoria in questa prima corsa.
So in second place overall, Stuart Middleton and Will Trigurta.
Per l'equipaggio tedesco RN Vision STS, Razvan Umbarescu, Gabriele Piana.
Gabriele Piana and Razvan Umbarescu. Razvan in the glasses, going up onto the top step of the podium. They probably didn't even know they'd won that until after they crossed the finish line, but as soon as the car came back, it was absolutely clear that they were the winners. So, national anthems.
Di cominciare a premiare i protagonisti, perché vogliamo consegnare i trofei. Sarà ovviamente Max Brams a consegnare il trofeo per la terza posizione, quindi il team MDM Motorsport, Simon Knapp, Max Kiebolt.
So there we have Max Brams hanging out the trophies up on the podium. To the number 1 MDM Motorsport crew. Simon Knapp and Max Cobalt on the left, Will Trigurta, Stuart Middleton, and then the winners' trophies to Gabriele Piana, the taller figure, and Razvan Umbarescu. Their season really has turned around here at Misano.
Official picture, all together on the same step of the podium. Let's take the picture. Okay, show with the trophies, please. And now, champagne!
So champagne time. Some people wise, keeping their suits fresh for tomorrow's race. But for the team that's not finished higher than 10th this season to swing that round and take victory, it's been a real turnaround for the RN Vision STS BMW racers. They took that victory, of course, with the penalties for 40-second penalty for the McLaren that was first across the finish line, but they fought their way to close to its tail, so really no complaints at all about victory there. So what an entertaining afternoon of racing for the GT4 European Series races. So by taking second place, Tregurtha and Middleton have a good 14-point advantage. Knapp and Cobalt, being third in the rankings, have moved to second. Milen Donche, Nicola Muller-Madsen, they'd have been out top, but that 40-second penalty and that spin left them down in 27th position on the track. Tribadini and Jean carry on scoring points. Paul Rees and Nico Rindisbacher picking their way up little by little, but look, down in 6th place overall. That victory has suddenly taken them from nowhere to well up the chart. Piana and Umbarescu, so they've had a fantastic Saturday here at the Misano World Circuit. That's the Silver Cup standings, and those are the overall championship positions. And here is a replay of the moment that the first win of the year for Piana and Umbarescu is uncorked on the podium. They thought they were heading to second place. No, 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 they've taken the points for victory. So the overall challengers up on the top. Now we're going to the other podiums. Of course, we have 3 full podiums here. So this is the podium for the Pro-Am class. The tall figure is Markus Lundstrass and his teammate Hamza Ovega. Victory for the Racing One crew. Second step of the podium, their teammates from Racing One, Patrick Zamperini and Zaba Moore. And third place in class in the Pro-Am honours, the 88 McLaren crew from Team GT, Alain Valent and Felix von der Laden. There they are on the right-hand side of the podium.
Per il team Racing One, Markus Lundstrass e Hamza Ovega. E con questi trofei è il momento, signori.
So for Lundstrass and Ovega, that's their first win of the championship. Their teammates Moore and Zamperini have already put one in the bag in the opening round at Zolder. And the sheer joy of racing is why these drivers go out to race, but standing up on a podium and spraying champagne isn't a bad thing to be doing on a sunny afternoon here at the Misano World Circuit. And we still have the third podium to come, which will be for the AM class runners. But plenty of happy faces up there, and really featuring very well overall in finishing the 3rd and 4th overall, the top 2 runners in the Pro-Am class here at Misano. So now the podium for the AM class runners, and having started 4th overall, they did go backwards down the field, but the 76 crew took it away. So car number 30 crew, Johan van Rom and Nicholas van Dierendonk, 3rd in the AM class in their Celleslar racing team Mercedes. Second in class, he raced the whole way on his own, Nicky Leutwiler, the TFT Racing Porsche Cayman. He loves his racing, that man. And the 2 Italians winning on Italian soil. It's very fitting indeed. The number 76 crew, Giuseppe Jesi and Alessandro Giovanelli, who kicked off in the Autolando Sport Porsche. So look for the biggest smiles.
Siamo pronti per consegnare I trofei. Sarà Peter Koeren sempre che rappresenta Pirelli, fornitore unico degli pneumatici di questo torneo. Ai protagonisti.
So that's a first win of the year in the AM class for the Autolando Sport crew. So Jesse and Giovanelli will be delighted, no doubt, with that performance, and particularly doing so on home ground.
L'argento di gara invece spetta alla scuderia Porsche Vectrum Oederer Zurich by TFT Racing, nome molto lungo, pilota è uno solo, Niki Lotwiller. Bel applauso a Niki, perfetto, non ci resta che incensare.
In fact, on an afternoon as warm as we've had, Niki Lotwiller will feeling a little more tired than his rivals up there, having done the race all on his own. But for Giovanelli and Jesse to win on home ground, really a result that will truly delight the Auto Orlando Sport crew.
Great show with the trophies, and now Champagne.
So that's the last of the podiums for the GT4 European Series. It was a phenomenal race with a considerable amount of action, and we had surprise new winners. So join us again tomorrow when I will very much look forward to taking you through the action.